The traditional boxing or karate stance where fighters stand with their feet bladed is becoming incredibly common in MMA. These stances are more useful for MMA than striking only competition because they give the fighter a better ability to move forwards and backwards quickly. The small MMA gloves make striking defense different than with the larger padded gloves because the high guard can't be used as reliably to block strikes. This means that MMA defense is more focused around completely moving back out of the way of strikes, which is often done by just moving backwards in a straight line from the boxing or karate stance. The most well-known vulnerability of the bladed stance is the outside low kick when both fighters are standing in the same stance, and this was really made evident in the famous kickboxing versus Muay Thai fight between Rick Rufus and Changpuk Kyatsongrit in 1988. The rules heavily favoured the kickboxer, with no elbows, knees, sweeps or clinching being allowed during the fight, which is removing a lot of a Thai fighter's biggest weapons. But the most important thing was that low kicks were allowed during the fight, which in the end was all that Kyatsongrit needed to slowly weather the storm of Rufus's attacks and eventually finish the fight. If you fight out of a bladed stance, the classic method of blocking outside low kicks with checks isn't available because your lead knee is angled too far inside to turn it out in time. So considering that the check is unavailable, there are two main ways you can deal with the outside low kick. You can either move completely out of the way of the kick, or you can offer some kind of counter to discourage your training partner from throwing the kick. In an ideal world, you completely avoid the kick, but that's not always going to be possible. I think the best counter to low kicks, regardless of stance, is going to be one of your straight punches. These straight punches don't need to be thrown at full power to cause damage, because when someone throws a leg kick, their head has to travel forward slightly, so they are effectively making the punch more powerful by moving in to meet it. Now if you're standing more square, then the rear straight counter is available to you, because the knee of your lead leg is able to stay facing the opponent, allowing you to rotate your upper body into the punch. If you're standing in the bladed stance, it's hard to throw the rear cross as a counter to the low kick because your knee is getting turned inside, so you can't fully rotate your hips and shoulders to land the cross. Taking this into account, a good alternative counter to the rear straight is going to be the jab. When you throw a jab, your lead knee is already turned in slightly, so the low kick doesn't weaken the jab as much as it weakens the rear straight. Robert Whittaker is arguably the best karate boxer in MMA right now, and he is very much used to guys trying to kick his legs. In his fight against Jared Cannonier, Whittaker used the jab to great effect to counter Cannonier's leg kicks. We know that Cannonier has powerful leg kicks, even finishing Anderson Silva with a leg kick in one of his fights, so it's not a strike that you want him to land often. After Whittaker had taken a few hard low kicks, he started countering Cannonier with step-in jabs and double jabs to press Cannonier back after he'd thrown the strike. Now they weren't causing great damage to Cannonier, but they were enough to make him think twice before he threw the next one. While the jab counter won't be as powerful as the rear straight counter, it can still be dangerous if timed correctly. In his recent title defense against Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman came out with a boxing heavy stance influenced by his work with Trevor Whitman. Usman's stance is actually better for the jab counter than Whittaker's because he stands heavier on his feet, meaning he is less likely to get knocked off balance when taking the low kick, which often happens to guys who have a lighter, more bouncy style. Despite the best option for defending low kicks being not to get hit at all, the jab counter is a great backup for boxers and karate fighters to have, and has been shown to work at the highest level of mixed martial arts. Thanks for watching, I'll see you for the next one.